She works in the kitchen, which means he's possibly, or he will have knives. Right, Bash? How you doing? I've got to put some allegations to you. You've been raping young girls in restaurants, bruv.
Listen, get out. We've come in here because multiple young girls have named these men as holding them on the floor. His dad holds children on the floor one by one. You're going to hear allegation after allegation of rape, of prostitution.
Oh, don't tell him! Please!
He'd always laugh and say I'm untouchable.
I don't think we can underestimate the importance of what's happened overnight. Elon Musk has pinned to his Twitter feed, or his X feed, Free Tommy Robinson. He's also reshared the First Rape of Britain documentary, which was Nicole's story. And the importance of this is massive because it puts the British government under massive pressure. It puts the media, who have to a large extent rejected Tommy and tried to discredit him as much as possible, it puts them in a very, very awkward situation. Because remember who Elon Musk is. He's the richest man in the world. He's one of the most influential men in the world. He is an integral part of Trump's team. And he is now looking at what's happened to Tommy, looking at what's happened with the, let's get it right, the rape mafia in the United Kingdom, and realising that there's a massive, massive problem. I had the privilege of being heavily involved in making the Rape of Britain documentaries. We put together a small team. I think it was middle of 2020, if I remember rightly. It seems like a long time ago now. Lots happened between now and then. But we put together a very small but very, very focused team that was made up of very, very dedicated and courageous volunteers. Some of them had never been involved in any surveillance work or any military work or any policing work in their lives before. Others were former intelligence officers from various different groups. We had support from special forces people, or ex-special forces people. We had covert soldiers who'd literally spent a lifetime infiltrating terrorist groups and surveilling terrorist groups. And we had intelligence officers from different fields as well, all working together in this team. We had journalists, some very, very clever people, far cleverer people than me. I just had the privilege of kind of putting these people into a pot and mixing it all together. And obviously, Tommy was the tip of the spear, and that the films were made by Urban Scoop. What a lot of people don't realise is about those films, and this is something I think needs to get out, that what we uncovered when we were making those films, and of course, intelligence is not evidence, and you know, anybody that's ever looked at this sort of stuff will tell you that you can have a lot of intelligence that you know is true and you know is nailed on, but it doesn't reach the threshold of evidence. But we had intelligence that there were very, very senior lawyers in Birmingham who were very closely connected with the grooming gangs. Were, in fact, many of the members of the grooming gangs were actually working for these solicitors. And we also uncovered a network, really, I suppose, what we call a mafia throughout the West Midlands, spreading up as far north as Bradford and the northwest, and also spreading as far south as Luton. And we had attacks. There were attacks on the people that were carrying out the surveillance. There was one of Tommy's cars was burned out. People were threatened, and we really lifted a lid off a hornet's nest. And what I think is very obvious to me is that this was not a few woolly back tribesmen from the Hindu Kush. This was very, very organised at the very, very heart of the areas we were working, certainly the Pakistani community. To give you an example, in Telford, we had hundreds of suspects that we had intelligence on, that we had 2 or 3 witnesses who corroborated that these men were involved in very serious crime. We just didn't have the resources to look at them all. And the interesting thing is, at the end of the operation, we took the evidence to we offered the evidence to the National Crime Agency. We offered the evidence to the local police. They weren't interested. They didn't want to know. And of course, they have all this information. We uncovered police corruption, we uncovered political corruption. And again, none of the videos that were made have ever been challenged legally. Nobody has ever gone to court and said, that was a lie, that wasn't true. The thing that Tommy said wasn't true. Nobody has legally challenged anything that was said. So we uncovered a massive can of worms. And that story, I believe, has to be told. And what Elon's done in retweeting those films, more than anything else, obviously it's important that he's retweeting Free Tommy, but the fact that he retweeted those films gives oxygen to what those films were talking about, and it gives the survivors, a massive boost in terms of their story being told, because that's why they did it. The survivors got in touch with us because they wanted their stories to be told. And again, the people that were involved in this team, they all know who they are, they know what they did, they can be massively proud of themselves for making those films. I don't think anything's ever been done like it in British television or video or whatever you want to call it, history or documentary making history. It's done on an absolute shoestring. Urban Scoop obviously got involved and did a lot of the funding, and other volunteers that were involved in the actual making of the film gave their own money to fund the project. So again, thank you to Elon Musk, but the full story has still not been told, and I believe the scale of this is far larger than anyone would ever imagine. A Labour MP several years ago said that she believed that up to 1 million white English girls had been sexually abused by these so-called grooming gangs. And I want to leave you with episode 2 of ROB. And again, this will give you a flavour of what we exposed and how deep the investigations went. So go and find the film, go and watch it. I think we've made 5 films so far, 5 or 6. There's another one coming out as soon as Tommy comes out of prison. So watch those documentaries. If you haven't seen them, watch the documentaries. They expose an absolute can of worms, as I've already said. But watch the trailer and like and share. See you soon.
For this episode, we're looking at the Hussains, the Iqbals and the Khans. You're all children and they're organising you to lose your virginity in the Indian restaurant.
Yeah.
You're a school child and he was picking you up from school.
Yeah. Bash had already given me a secret phone and said, keep that in case your dad ever gets your phone. And Bash told me not to go to Lucy's. He told me to stay at home. He said, whatever you do, don't go to Lucy's. And I woke up the next morning and Lucy's died.
Don't worry, you motherfuckers! You motherfucker! That's what you are, you son of a bitch! Islamophobe motherfucker!
You're raping kids!
Yeah.
So literally, we can't drive around this town without passing houses or businesses where you've been raped. How many girls, say in your class, do you think were being forced to have sex with older Muslim men?
There's like 7, 8 of them.
In your class? Just in your class?
Yeah.
I'm offering you the opportunity and your wife to see evidence.
I need to knock you the fuck out.
When you say them all, how many men?
Like 5 or 6.
So he'd rape you and then he'd hold you down, whilst 5 or 6 other men who work at his restaurant would rape you.
I'll drop you, you motherfucker.
Do you know who any of those other men were?
He goes by the name of Chloe or Cobra.
So Munchie is raping you with his brother-in-law.
Yeah.
It's Chloe here. Who? Chloe. Successful believers are those who guard their chastity. And I quote verse 6. Except from their wives or the slaves. For then they are free from blame. They can take slave women, have sex with them, and they are free from blame.
Munchie works in the kitchen. Which means he's possibly, well, he will have knives. Right, Bash. How you doing? I've got to put some allegations to you. You've been raping young girls in restaurants, but Listen, get out. We've come in here because multiple young girls have named these men as holding them on the floor. His dad holds children on the floor one by one. You're going to hear allegation after allegation of rape, of prostitution.
He'd always laugh and say I'm untouchable.